What's going on, everybody, and welcome on back to the channel. So Borderlands 4 released earlier this month, and as I'm sure we already all know now, it certainly has its fair share of optimization issues, and there's really no sugarcoating it. The game just runs like crap regardless of what hardware you have, and as I'm sure most of you have seen, even 5090s are struggling to run this game without DLSS and frame-gen. And while I don't have the absolute best hardware that money can buy myself, I do have the third best in my 9800X3D and my 5080. And in playing in 1440p with that setup, I can confirm the game runs as poorly as Garfield on Mondays. Now, the purpose of this video is not at all to bash the devs over at Gearbox. I mean, I myself don't know how to code a game anywhere near that complex, so I'm not gonna go there. But I'm certainly not above laughing at Randy Pitchford for trying to gaslight and insult his way out of this. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why this guy would rather tell his customers to use more frame gen or get a refund, rather than just admit the game has issues that they're going to have to address. I mean, that just seems like a worse strategy than bringing a megaphone to go deer hunting. And what's even stranger about that is we all know at this point, they're definitely working on the optimization, because I know I'm not the only one that noticed after the third update recently, the game seems to be running even worse. I mean, I feel like I can't get on a vehicle for more than 5 seconds without some pretty large hitching. Now, most of the talk about how this game runs has been more GPU related, and deservedly so, because if your game is struggling to run on a 5090, that's a problem. But today, I'm more interested to see what happens when you try to run this game with a low-end CPU, because as we all know, this game never stops compiling. And here lies our testing grounds for the day, along with my 5080 to make this as much of a CPU stress test as I personally can. Because like I said earlier, I don't have any 4090s or 5090s that I personally own. Now, if you've been following the channel, you'd probably recognize this build right here. This is the build I did a little while ago so I could start exploring Linux a little more myself, specifically Linux Mint Cinnamon, if anyone's interested, while eating that spicy chip. And considering how much grief that chip gave me for the next few days after not drinking for about a solid hour while building this thing, I can confidently say that's something I'm probably not going to do again until this channel is able to be monetized. But for today's video, the specs of this machine are our low-end CPU being an i3-14100. The motherboard is an MSI Pro Z698 D5, which means that our RAM is DDR5, 6000 megahertz, and it's 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance low profile. And before the comments start rolling in telling me how stupid I am, let me be very clear here. The purpose of today's video is not a performance test, okay? Obviously, we all know that a 9800X3D is going to vastly outperform an i3-14100 in anything across the board. Obviously. All I really want to find out today is, judging by how this game runs with a 9800X3D, how much of a show is it going to be trying to play it on an i3? And depending on whether this ends up just being a constant crash fest or not, I probably won't even include any 9800X3D, because again, the point of this video is not to compare those two, and I cannot stress that enough. And now again, judging by how poorly this game runs on even a 9800X3D, I'm going to start out in 1440p and see how that goes. And if I think it can actually handle it, we'll drop down to 1080p and see if we can get this little i3 to explode. But one final thing I got to do before we can get started is a good friend of mine is getting ready to upgrade from his GTX 1080 soon, and I plan on donating this to him as a nice little starter platform to upgrade from his B250 9600K and 16 gigabytes of DDR4 running at 2666. And well, she no fitty anyways. So let's go ahead and rip this out and throw it on my test bench and we'll get started. And we have a successful transplant. Doctor? Yes, doctor. Now, feel free to call me a paranoid baby when I say this, but I've actually been thinking about making this video pretty much ever since this game launched. But with everything I'm trying to do with this channel and investing into the company, you know, it wasn't exactly easy for me to afford. So, I was very apprehensive of even pulling it back out of my system upstairs because, the precious. And now for anyone wondering, I'll be running my external Elgato HD60X capture card on my laptop so that the only things running on this system are the game and Afterburner. And I know a lot of you got excited as soon as I mentioned this was a Linux system, but it has Windows on it too. And considering all the problems this game has already, we're gonna load into Windows. Hey everybody, Future Me here. Quick update before we launch into the game. Now, with the exception of this part right here, I filmed this entire video on Tuesday, September 30th, which means that I was playing the still the most recent version of the game, which had its third update on September 25th. But since I still have a day job, I wasn't able to test the game with Nvidia's new driver that they released that morning. But while eating lunch, I did skim through the driver notes and I didn't see anything specifically about Borderlands, so I really didn't think much of it. Now, while this test is about to go exactly as I had predicted in some ways, it's going to go the complete opposite of what I expected in others. But as you're about to see, I was pretty immediately shocked by how smooth this game was running on my $80 i3 versus my near $500 9800X3D. I mean, pretty much all the stutters and hitching that I had been experiencing with this game on my 9800X3D were just gone. So obviously with a disparity like that lingering in my head, I didn't care that it was already past midnight on a work night. I wasn't going to go to bed until I figured out why. And like I said, because I was at work all day, I hadn't had the chance to run that game with the new driver update with my 9800X3D. And that was the only thing I could think of that was causing it. So sure enough, as soon as I got done filming this video, I went right back upstairs and threw my 5080 back in my main system, and sure enough, it was all better. Now, that's not to say that this game still doesn't have a lot of optimization issues, and obviously the massive amount of time it takes to compile shaders all the time is still a problem. But if you're like me and you've been willing to get past that to still play this game, but have found it to still be a stuttery, hitchy mess, I highly recommend you go download Nvidia's new drivers right now. And if you have an AMD card and you're still getting that, then that sucks. But anyways, just for science and so that you can see I'm not full of crap when I told you this game ran smooth as butter on an i3, let's get to the test. Okay, round one of eternal shader compiling. Here we go. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't already crashed. Down, 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 down. I'm not even kidding. Going from 0 to 1% just took a full minute. A full Earth minute. Oh my God, we're at 2. 3 minutes in and we're at 4% now. So at least, you know, we're outpacing that 1% per every 60 seconds pace. So that's good. Look at that little i3 go. You know, to the person I plan on donating this system to, I'm sorry I'm getting my money's worth out of this i3 right now, but let's face it, you weren't going to keep it in there anyways. You were going to upgrade. And when I say giving away this system, I mean the CPU, motherboard, RAM, and cooler. I'm not giving away my 5080. That's my firstborn child. This is taking forever. Alright, so I think I'm going to take a nap, and I'll be back whenever this is done. Shaders. I might actually have to come back and finish this tomorrow. I gotta work in the morning. And we're doing the relaunching thing. Now we get to do it all over again. Yay! Wow, it's so fast this time. Well, for an i3. Oh my gosh, we're in the menu. All right, before we launch into the game though, let's just go over my my settings here. I'm gonna run the settings that I normally run. With this, I'm just trying to apply my settings, and it's frozen. When we're back. There we go. Okay, we're back. All right. So despite what Randy wants you to do, I don't even care what he wants you to do. Here's the settings that I run when I play this game. And normally I actually play with my 3K monitor, but for the purpose of today, we're going down to normal 2560 by 1440 in my monitor downstairs. So I found that for my purposes, playing in 1440p ultra wide, or as I like to call it, bougie 1440p or 3K, I stick with badass. I stick with the badass setting, DLSS quality, frame gen ×2. Yeah, I don't want to be running frame gen with a 5080, and I probably wouldn't need to with regular 2560, but if I'm being honest, even with a 9800X3D in 1440 ultra wide, if I want to do badass setting, I have to run both DLSS and frame gen, and for a comic book style game, that's sad. That's the sad part to me. And now that we got that out of the way, and it looks like our CPU has actually calmed down probably as much as it's going to, let's launch. All right, shader round 2, here we go. And you know what, actually, I think I'm gonna leave frame gen on while we're in 1440p here, because you know what, Randy tells you to use it. So if he tells you to use it, then we have to test this i3 with him. I feel like we'd be doing Randy a disservice, and you know, I feel like he deserves better than that. / sarcasm. You know, despite how it goes when if we actually get into the game, I think it's safe to say that you should never try and play this game with an i3 because it's literally been almost half an hour now since we launched the game, and we have yet to actually get in the game. You can say what you want about optimization and yada yada yada, but I'll just put it this way. This i3 has no problem launching right into Cyberpunk. We could have launched Cyberpunk about 20 times by now. And again, I'm not here to trash the devs at Gearbox, but I'm just gonna put a little 2 cents in this way. But on the other side of that, and on the topic of an Unreal Engine game, Stalker 2 on the other hand, wouldn't take nearly this long, but it would probably be about half the time, honestly. But again, and I can't say this enough, I couldn't code a game anywhere near like this. I'm not the most advanced knowledge-wise when it comes to game engines and yada yada yada, so I'm not gonna sit here and bash devs doing what they do. And if you want to hear my real unpopular take, I remember the days when a 6 to 8 hour game felt like you got your money's worth, and nowadays we're expecting gameplay with 60 to 80 hours worth of content, ultra high realistic graphics, and more and more and more and more. So if a game comes out with a few bugs, honestly, it doesn't bother me. But this is bad. Alright, we're actually in, and we are definitely bottlenecking our GPU, but if I'm being honest with you now, this is even smoother. And the frame rate is higher, because like I said, I usually play upstairs in 1440 ultra wide, so now okay, maybe the frame rate's about the same, but when I launch into this game with my 9800 X3D, like, this thing is still just a massive hitch fest for a while. I mean, maybe it's because I kind of sat in the menu for a while and let it load in there. I don't know, but I'm shocked right now. Let's see what happens when I get on my vehicle. Oh, vehicles, there we go. I'm seriously shocked right now. Like, I've been moving around a bit and I haven't hitched once. I truly don't understand what's going on.
Can't see how that failed. Looks like I'll need to find another way in.
I'm still in awe at the fact that I haven't hitched once. But if you stay in one place in this game, it tends to be okay. And to be honest, I really haven't moved from the area where I spawned in yet. I'm kind of already near my objective, so once I finish getting this propaganda speaker here, we'll go right around a bit and see how it does. God, this sniper is such a cheat code. I'd be surprised if they don't nerf this thing. Oh, there we go. I caught the Pokemon. Alright, let's move somewhere else. Let's go all the way down. Aw. Well, it ran smooth when we were in, but I guess if you want to talk about your drawback, here it is. All I'm trying to do is fast travel. Okay. I'm growing more confused by the minute. The fact that here we are again, pegged.
You're looking for a giant meathead who goes by Big Suck.
And it's still fine. I'm equally confused as I am impressed right now, to say the least.
Just listen to that voice. Oh, feeds off his energy like parasites.
Oh no! Lesson of the day, watch your step. But there's another good opportunity to test. I would hitch on my 98 X3 if I died. Now I'm fine.
It'll ring someday.
I got another Pokemon.
I've got no face. I'll give him this. He does suck. Truth in advertising.
Alright, final test. Let's see what happens if we just get on the bike and ride. And we got the save marker, so we have moved into new areas. So, and fast traveling again, and it continues to be smooth right off the bat. So at this point, I don't think I'm gonna drop it down to 1080p just because, I mean, this video has not gone at all the way I thought it was going to, and because I'm running my capture card, To drop it down to 1080p, I would have to exit the game and change the resolution and windows and everything because it's locked in game now, and I really don't feel like sitting through another hour of compiling shaders just to see how badly an i3 is going to bottleneck at 5080 and 1080p. But I've been playing for about an hour now, and again, this is kind of blowing my mind. I'm not really sure what to think. You know, taking 30-45 minutes just to get into the game, 3-5 minutes just to fast travel is certainly not great, but this is anything but the unplayable experience that I hear a lot of people having with this game. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and wrap it up and talk about it, shall we? Yeah, so maybe I just stumbled on the secret to buttery smooth Borderlands 4 performance. Not really sure. I unplugged the Elgato just to make sure that had nothing to do with it, and it didn't. We're still buttery smooth, and for the life of me, I really can't figure out why I'm not getting any of the hitching on this i3 that I usually do with my 9800 X3 and the same GPU. However, there was an Nvidia driver update today. Maybe that has something to do with it, I don't know. Because just because Nvidia's notes about the driver update didn't mention anything about Borderlands 4, doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't anything in there for Borderlands 4. So maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe it's an Intel versus AMD thing, but I hear people on Intel CPUs also having terrible performance with this game. So at this point, but I guess we just answered the question that as long as you don't mind waiting about 45 minutes to actually get in the game and a good 3 to 5 minutes every time you fast travel, yeah, you could definitely play Borderlands 4 with an i3. Not how I pictured this going, but hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if there's anything I'm missing here or you also don't really understand how that just happened, let me know down in the comments. But until then, game on, be easy, and we'll see you guys next time.